So maybe the first thing I can ask you, this is maybe you can introduce yourself, or tell me your name, and yeah, who are you? And yes, that's all. Maybe
My name
yes,
and just name.
your name, and maybe just in a few words, who are you? I don't remember, you told me last time,
Okay.
but very short,
Yeah,
short presentation.
Yeah.
Okay.
My name is Acharya Perik, and I'm a Buddhist monk belonging to Tibetan Buddhism. And we have 4 schools in Tibetan Buddhism, among which I belong to Nyingma tradition or Nyingma school of Tibetan Buddhism. And I completed my master's degree in Tibetan Buddhism in South India. Mysore is called Nagyon Nyingma Institute. Again, we have the.
This is around, yeah. Kill it.
You don't know how to kill it. It's my mobile, so.
Yeah. Alright.
Also, I'll silence it because there might be some phone call might come. Okay. I think the first part is done, or you want to
It's okay. Alright. Yeah. So there. Well, yeah, I can start with this question because I forgot it. Yeah. Can you maybe? So you told me there is 4 Buddhism schools in Nyingma and 3 others. You will not explain me in details each one, but maybe can you tell me the difference with Nyingma? What Nyingma school is different than other school? I don't know if it's easy to answer it, but
Yeah.
I'm also teaching in Nyingma school,
Yeah.
but I never understand which fundamental difference there is between this school and the other.
Generally, the other 3 schools and Nyingma schools are differentiated with each other because Nyingma is supposed to be the old tradition or the old school because it is the school which is preserving the tradition from when Buddhism was introduced in Tibet. And other 3 schools are after when all the Buddhism and its teaching and its tradition were systematized in Tibet, and it was kind of systematic after then. And after that we have 4 major schools, which is Gelug, Sakya, Kagyu, and then the Nyingma.
Okay. Okay. So maybe we can keep going with the question I asked you about Anatman. So maybe can you explain me with your own words what is Anatman for Buddhist people and what is the soul for Hinduism also? What difference between both? Because Buddhism there is a cycle and every living beings born and die and born again, so there is this same idea of reincarnation. But yes, where is the limit of the difference of the soul?
Yeah, the main difference between Buddhism and Hinduism, which both of them has been formed or happened through or originated from the same land, is the India and Nepal land. And the major difference between those 2 is is between them about the refuse taking, the object of refuse. There is major difference. But coming to the question you have now, which is related with anatma or soullessness, and I think it will be probably the most difficult question for me also, and maybe to other teachers also, because it's kind of complicated thing to understand and to say about it, because regarding the practice of Buddhism, we have to realize the soullessness, and when we say about realizing the soullessness or selflessness is, if it is only about selflessness, it is most important thing in Buddhism practice, because until you do not realize the selflessness, you cannot realize the truth according to Buddhism. But when we are also talking about the anatma, soullessness, and the Hindu tradition has a big place for soul. But again, Buddhism talks about no soul or soullessness. And I think that means we should have a correct approach to understand these two matters, because in any case we might be going on the wrong way how to understand it. But the main difference which we understand as like difference between the soullessness and the soulness of Hindu tradition, because according to Buddhism tradition, how we understood the Hindu tradition is like the ethic of Hinduism itself based on the soul, and soul is permanent, and until one reaches to the state of God or Buddhahood, then is soul. So their understanding of soul is permanent, and until you reach the point of like state of God also is always soul. And according to Buddhism, mostly we do not even use soul, but we keep using the word mind. So mind is kind of endless. It keeps traveling with one life to another, but anyhow, the mind itself is also like when we attain the enlightenment, then at that time is like the mind also transforms into wisdom. So in one version of understanding the Buddhist philosophy is like mind has to stop when you get enlightened, and even the mind we consider so much has to stop while getting enlightened, and then there is no place for soul, because when you talk about the permanence of soul, then it's a kind of very opposite to Buddhist philosophy.
Yeah, because in Buddhism we speak about impermanence of everything.
Yeah.
Everything is moving. I perceive it like that. Okay.
Yeah.
Everything is moving. Like I imagine it's like a wheel moving all the time.
Yeah.
And even the earth, the five elements. Nothing is absolute. Even this is right.
Yeah.
Okay, I understand.
Although, I might have helped you to understand a bit about this contradiction, but still, I think I might not be able to make a very perfect statement for its explanation.
Yes, so this is very close. Hinduism, Buddhism, there's many things very close, and I don't know many things about Hinduism. That's why I cannot also do my own reason.
Yeah.
But it's okay. I understand. And yes. So in Buddhism, so there is also this notion of ignorance, avidya.
Avidya.
Yeah, avidya. The first, one of the main, most important cause of suffering.
Yeah.
And yes, maybe can you explain me this notion?
Yeah.
Very complex notion.
Regarding ignorance and regarding it as a cause of suffering, and I think you probably got to hear about the cause of suffering in Tibetan Buddhism version, And just not Tibetan Buddhism version is like probably the Nyingma version or some high level version, because normally Theravada and the basic Buddhist traditions, I think, regard the cause of suffering as craving and also like the selfness, but also like we Nyingma traditions have been saying the ultimate reason or the cause of suffering is ignorance. But whatever we say, all of these explanations are same kind of thing, because when you are craving because you believe in I, and you believe in I because you have ignorance. And the ignorance which becomes the cause of suffering and which is the cause of rebirth, taking rebirth also, because when we also learn about or meditate on the 12 links of dependent origination, the number one is ignorance. So the ignorance becomes the cause of suffering as well as cause of rebirth, because you take rebirth to suffer your karma. And also, while we migrate from one life to another life, even though we might have the option to not take the rebirth, we might have the option to get enlightened, as some of the Buddhist school says. But because we are driven by our karma, so we find no other option than to choose the path to take rebirth. So that's why the ignorance plays that big role in our rebirth, and how we suffer because of our ignorance. Why is it the cause of suffering? Is also because we are ignorant about everything. And most importantly, we are ignorant because we are into truth, which is not a truth. Like all the mundane thing, all the materialistic thing, all the situations around you, you have debate, you have discussion with your friends, your enemies, you have your statement, you have your opinion, and among them, you take most of them as a truth. You say, I'm saying this is truth. But apart from the realization of truth as enlightenment through some meditation, like truth is kind of that thing which you can only experience. The statements, or you can see what you can hear, are mostly like senses only. It's not a truth. Whatever you see also. In the ultimate meaning. So that's why we are ignorance, and the same ignorance always brings us the suffering. And as I already said, the biggest ignorance is believing in I. So till we have this feeling of I, we will always keep suffering. And because you can see people saying, I am suffering, I have suffering, I am in tension, I am in stress. But once you stop believing in I, if you don't have I, there's no suffering. And above that, if you have compassion, then there is no place where you can place your I. You have to only have compassion over others. Then that's why people who have compassion, who practice compassion, have no suffering, even though people might see them kind of suffering.
I understand. And does it mean so to get enlightenment, to get cessation of suffering, you have to forget yourself and forget your identity also?
It's not like forgetting.
Not forget, but...
yeah, it's like the realization you get from meditation and understanding the philosophy. Otherwise, there might be misconception about the selfness also, because is our kind of habit which we grasp with I. We keep grasping with I. For instance, we keep saying my family, my belongings, my money, and you can forget your money, but it's very difficult to not believe that it's my money.
This is more about possession and about
belongings.
than about your identity.
Yeah, also identity. Yeah.
Also identity.
The main ignorance I've kind of forgot to tell is believing this body to be I. That's why you say I am suffering, I am sick. But your mind is not sick.
You mean I'm sick because I have a headache or something like
Your
that?
body is mundane. It is made of 5 elements. So if the 5 elements in your body have imbalance, then you will become sick. But your mind cannot be sick.
Okay. Or maybe your mind is sick when born because it's ignorance and you have to.
Yeah, its main sickness is ignorance itself. There's no other sickness.
And ignorance, this is what is the cause of ignorance? Is our cause of ignorance?
Cause of ignorance, I think the Buddhist studies haven't mentioned anything beyond ignorance, because the ignorance is the ultimate culprit.
Ultimate truth.
No, it's not truth. It's like culprit or the main demon.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I mean the ultimate truth to understand.
That this is the
keep.
the main cause.
Yes. Okay. Yes, this is interesting. And so maybe how could you maybe give an advice, I don't know, to realize this ignorance, and for European people, so many people, this is not easy to understand this notion. Me, I'm in Nepal now, and I'm reading a lot, I'm asking some people, so now I understand this word, but what is it? For many people, this is not so easy to understand. Yeah. And maybe, anyway, but what could be maybe the first advice to follow, maybe the first things to think, to realize this. No, I don't know. It's not very clear. I don't know. But, do you understand maybe where I want to go? Or, my problem is, okay, I will come back in Europe. I will try to explain it for many people. And how can I explain it? How can I have to say, okay, the world around you is not like that, is not the truth. Things are not so material and absolute. This is not like finished, this is just creation. So maybe my question is, how do you perceive the world around you, and maybe how can I explain? How can you explain it for you? No, it's not clear. Okay, we forget it.
You can try again.
Yes. No, I'm not sure. I'm not clear. Maybe with another question I will find the answer. So. Okay, I was last time I spoke with someone, a Swiss guy, and he told me, okay, in Buddha's life, in any moment, he's speaking about Buddha is going to the sea or ocean, so he couldn't have the knowledge of animals in the sea, like whale and dolphin, and many animals like that, and my question is about dolphin, especially because dolphin is very smart animals.
Dolphins?
Yes, dolphins, very smart animals. very intelligent,
Yeah.
and they are living in harmony. They are living with many. They can hunt together, even if it's not the same family, and they are sharing the food together. Anyway, so my question is, why in Buddhism human is and animals are so different world? There is 6 worlds in Samsara Cycle. Why human people and animals are different?
Okay, maybe I think I understood your point.
Yes.
Normally also like when I was a student in my school, and I observed all the religions, and what I saw was all the religions are always oriented for human, not for the animals. And many of the religions, even not only animals, have so many discrimination for caste system, like white and black, and also in Nepal like low caste and high caste, and many of those religions also have like discrimination for women. Women don't have so much right for practicing religion or any facility from the religion. And when we also observe about the Buddhism, and Buddhism, although was kind of a religion or a path which believes in equality for every sentient beings, but again there is little bit of a priority for human. For instance, killing animals is equally bad, equally evil, equally is wrong to kill animals according to Buddhism. But when you consider one precepts of a monk, and the number one is not killing, but in the monk's precepts also, or the main precept, the first precept of not killing or non-violence also considers killing animal is a crime, is a not do thing, but you don't lose your vow.
Lose your
vow. There are like ordination vow. There is lay people vow also. That is, the vow is the kind of formality to become a real traditional Buddhist, and also you can believe yourself as a Buddhist after you have vow. So when you disfollow the precepts, then you break your vow. So when you kill a human, you break the vow. But when you kill an animal, you do not completely break the vow. It can be repaired. And that's one of the systems we have in Buddhism. And the main reason, because many people have doubt, many people have confusion, and many people also become critical because of this reason. But we also have to understand that human life is not easy to get according to Buddhism. So number one thing is that human life is difficult to achieve, and you keep doing the bad karma, it's very easy to get into other 5 realms, other 4 realms. Even God realm is a little bit difficult. But the main reason is among the 6 realms, including the God realms also, the only way to overcome our suffering, achieve liberation or nirvana, we can only do that from our human life. That's why human life is considered as the most precious life. And when we are killing some animal, we are not killing their possibility to overcome their suffering or attain nirvana. In fact, in some cases, you might be helping them to reach near the nirvana if that animal gets human life in next life. But when you kill a human, because even God realm God realm beings also are supposed not to be able to attain liberation because they are too much addicted by luxury. And human life, you can attain liberation, nirvana. So that's why there is more priority for human. And if you only consider about the dolphins and ocean animals, and then if you ask that whether Buddha have come to know about them, but then probably yes, because he seemed to have traveled all over the Asia, all over South India, Sri Lanka. So he probably have reached the ocean. And second thing, even if he wouldn't have been to ocean on his foot, he was supposed to travel through his like divinity, through his mind. So he was supposed to have been to God realm during his human lifetime also. So in that manner, that Buddha surely have known about the dolphins also. Anything else regarding that?
Yeah. Exactly.
About dolphins?
Yeah, no, in fact, it's about dolphins because this is one of the most...
Yeah, next intelligent animal.
Yes.
Yeah.
And of course, I could understand if Buddha's story is very long time ago. And dolphins in the sea, I can understand that.
Okay, I need to answer another thing I just remembered.
Okay.
So, because the stories about Buddha are perceived by human, and they write down the stories. They narrate the stories to their next generation. But the people around Buddha at that time only saw what Buddha gave to or interact with people around them. But they cannot predict how much Buddha was traveling. They know Buddha traveled to God realm, but they cannot see what he did in God realm. So, Buddha might have helped or liberated lots of ocean animals also. So it's just a matter of that their story does not narrate the animal of oceans.
Okay, I understand. Yes, because yes, there is also I read that there are so many Buddha, not only one. There is one like absolute Buddha, Gautama Buddha, Siddhartha, but before him there are so many Buddha, 1,000 Buddha. I don't remember. It depends of the story and the versions also of Buddhism.
Yeah.
In some there is something like that also. And that's why there will be a new Buddha called Maitreya.
Yeah.
But I think this is also in just one vision of Buddhism, no?
Okay.
No, I don't know. Maybe you can tell me about that.
Like, if you consider the ultimate truth in Buddhism, then like Buddha are countless. Like you can say millions, billions,